find that interesting at least. But seat comfort's really good with this, and so that is a big plus. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the Mercedes GLS 450. Before we get in this video though, a huge shout out and thank to the Mercedes-Benz of Farmington, Utah for giving me some time with this GLS. I'm going to include a link to their inventory in the description down below so you can check out what they have currently. If you have any questions or need any help, just ask for John Moore. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Under the hood, we have a turbocharged 3-liter inline-6 that goes through a 9-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 18 around town and then 23 on the highway, with power outputs being 362 horsepower and then 369 pound-feet of torque. Now, before we go over the front end, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the hood itself, you guys can see distinctive lines there on either side, which I think looks pretty cool. Popping down below, I've got really sharp daytime running lights with the LED headlamps, and then you guys can see here with the grille, I feel like it's an homage to older Mercedes models, which is pretty cool. Camera there below the giant Mercedes logo, and then you guys can see the smaller one up above. Parking sensors on the front end as well. And overall, the GLS just basically looks like a giant Mercedes, and that's pretty much what it is. Come around the side here, our tire and wheel setup is 285, 45, 22 in the front, and then 325, 40, 22 in the rear. And then you guys can see this has the AMG style wheels with the little AMG logo right there, which I think it looks pretty good. We have these nice body painted fender flares here on the side, and then you can see the mirrors also body painted, and then we got chrome trim around the windows, and then look at the roof rails there at the top, and then we got the fixed side steps here on the side. And putting it all together, I do think the side view of the GLS is very nice, and I love the fender flare there in the back with how massive it is to fit the tires. Now here's a key fob for the GLS. You guys can see you've got your unlock function, your lock function, Mercedes logo there on the front with the opening for the hatch. Now popping into the GLS, you guys can see we've got the cargo cover here in the back, and then notice for the seats how we can fold them down and raise them up, which is pretty cool. You can do it all at once as well. And then you guys can see here for the other side with the seats, and we also have the suspension in the rear where you can raise and lower it to make it so it's a little bit easier to basically access the rear. And underneath here we've got the spare tire. When you're all done, just press that button right there and that will lower the hatch right back down. Pretty intricate taillights here on the GLS. You guys can see the 4MATIC badge and then the GLS 450 badge as well. We've got parking sensors there at the bottom, and then look at like the covers there for the exhaust tips on top of that. And finishing things up here at the exterior of the GLS, again, it basically just looks like other Mercedes models, but then just gigantic, which is crazy. If you guys are wondering in terms of like the overall scale, it's quite a bit bigger than like the G-Wagon, which is already a big vehicle. Now taking a look at the door panel here in the rear, really nice leather trim here at the top and then also down below. You can see the window control here, our seat adjustments here for the second row, and then speaker for the Burmester sound system. And speaking of second row seats, you can see with the stitching and then the leather trim all down the center portion. And popping into the second row, legroom's great. Got a little vent right there, got a storage pocket right here. We've got our little vents here in the back, and then we actually have our own climate zone in the rear as well. And then you can see we've got some charging port action down below. And then a headroom back here is also great. Now this latch here at the top of the seat is what will let me access the third row. It does take a little bit of time though for it to finish. So when it comes to legroom here in the back, it is a little bit more on the cramped side of things. And then we got this for the seat, and then you can see for the USBs. Headroom back here is good though. Now taking a look at the front door panel, really nice leather trim, just like the back, and then you can see all of our window controls right here. We've got our mirror adjustments. The mirrors do power fold in, and then our memory seat functionality just up above with all of our seat adjustments. Heated and ventilated seats here for the front. Another speaker for the Burmester sound system, and then we also have blind spot monitoring with the mirrors. And then here's with the front seat, again, really nice perforated leather all down the center portion, and then you can see with our little lumbar adjustment right there. And then look at the pedals at the bottom. Those are definitely fancy looking. And then we've got our light controls right here with our parking brake control, and then look at like the wood trim and then the leather on the dash, and then the steering wheel is power adjustable. Now taking a look at the steering wheel, we've got really nice leather trim here at the top and at the bottom, and that's perforated here on the sides so you can get a slightly better grip. We've got pretty sweet looking paddle shifters there on the back as well. And then you can see we've got some controls here for the center infotainment screen. That is for the center gauge cluster, volume, voice command controls, and we have our cruise control as well. It is adaptive. And then our windshield wiper stock, and our column shifter. Now popping into the center gauge clutch, you guys can see there's a bunch of different menus that we can scroll through here within each gauge itself, and then also within the center. It's like super customizable, and you can basically get any bit of information you want. And then it basically also doubles as like a secondary infotainment system with all of the different functions you can pop into. And on top of that, we can even change the entire layout of the gauge clutch in terms of what it looks like. In reverse, we do have a backup camera with trajectory lines that turn with the steering wheel. We also have the bird's eye view as well, and this is a full 360 camera system, so you can see out of every single angle with the camera, which I think is pretty cool. And then as for the rest of the infotainment system, again, I can control it with the steering wheel if I want. I also have the keypad that I can use to control it, or I can just use it as a regular infotainment screen. And if we pop into the comfort tab, this is where you guys can see we've got the seat kinetics, and then also you can control the ambient lighting, which I always thought is interesting that's in the comfort tab, but easy to use infotainment system, lots of cool features. We've got nice leather trim all over the rest of the dash, and then you can see the wood trim down below, and then look at the ambient lighting with the vents here in the center, lots of vents. And then these are our climate controls here in the very center, and then you can see that the engine stop start and the auto stop start right there. And then wireless phone charging pad with this like wood paneling that kind of covers that whole setup. And then we've got more cup holders here, and look at that! Heated and cooled cup holder. And then look at the ambient lighting here around like this grab handle, that's pretty interesting. This is the little keypad here for the infotainment system, volume control, and then our drive mode select. And if you're wondering what the drive modes, we've got an individual, a sport, a comfort, an eco, and then an off-road mode as well. We've got this to adjust the suspension, and we can press this to open up the center console, which nice padding there on top. And at the very top, we got our control here for the full panoramic sunroof. So here's our window sticker for the GLS 450. You guys can see the base MSRP 81,800, and then this one has quite a few options added to it. After all options, 94,995 is the total MSRP. Let's see how it drives. Let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's visibility over the hood. Both the mirrors do have blind spot monitoring, and then throughout the rest of the rear. And let us set off in the S-Class of SUVs, which I always have felt like the regular S-Class is way more opulent than the GLS in a way. I know that some people might get offended by that, and also, look at that Defender with the ladder on the side. But the reason that I feel that way is that the S-Class sedan is just way more like in your face, like luxury, whereas this, it just looks like a blown up Mercedes SUV, which I don't think is a bad thing, but I think they should have at least done like the hood emblem on the hood. Maybe that's over the top. Maybe there's a reason why they don't do that, but I don't know. I think that would be pretty cool. But the other thing I do want to mention is I feel like the suspension on this is not as comfortable as the S-Class sedan. It's still very comfortable. Like this is still a very like luxury riding vehicle. Like it's super smooth. But the S-Class sedan is just, it's like on a whole nother level. So it's interesting that, I don't know, this is like less comfortable, but it's also supposed to be like the S-Class SUV. I don't know, I find that interesting at least. But seat comfort's really good with this. And so that is a big plus. And that window sticker is just right in my way. Well, I guess we'll risk it for, I can see, I'm just kidding. I was gonna say, we'll risk it for the biscuit, but I can see if there's anyone there. Hey, this engine's got solid torque. We're gonna pop it into the sport mode here. Kind of see how this does coming up this little driveway. Yeah, suspension's very, very comfortable. So like when I say this isn't as comfortable as the S-Class sedan, it's like, you know, it's comparing to the top dog, right? Still very comfortable though. Yeah, going down things really good with the damping. Get on a little bit here. Woo! Yeah, that inline six, that thing moves. That thing moves. I love Mercedes 9-speed automatic transmission, by the way. It's so like snappy and smooth. It's a really good transmission. So, setting things up here with the GLS. I don't know what that beep was. That was random. Oh, I think I said Mercedes, and so it thinks that I'm trying to talk to it. Anyways, I think it looks pretty good. I prefer the looks of the S-Class sedan. That's just my personal... Here, I'll drive by an S-Class to show you. It's just my personal take. And then, you know, I think it drives really well. It's very comfortable, but again, I feel like the sedan is more comfortable. So I guess if you're just looking for the S-Class experience, look at that. Look at that in gold too. Look how nice that is. So yeah, if you're just looking for the S-Class experience, I think the sedan is the route to go. But if you have a bunch of kids and you live in a place like Utah where we've got pretty crappy roads in a lot of places and you need the SUV ground clearance, then yeah, this still gives you most the S-Class experience, right? But in an SUV format.